I've concluded that my favorite memories of travel are often not of the main destination. Most of the time, it's the stops along the way, the unexpected moments here and there, the endless road. I wanted to start making videos about a few of my favorite moments of the past years, the places and memories that give me good feelings when I ponder them, the stuff that made an impression. Sure, I've been to some amazing places, all the headliners from Yosemite to Zion to the Grand Canyon. And they're all amazing, but none of them can compete with something like the smell of a cool desert rain from a surprise storm. Such events engage all the senses, and the mix of excitement and trepidation often creates a stronger imprint on the mind and soul. Don't believe me? Well, let's start with that one then. The time the desert put on a show or two for me. Memories of Mojave Desert Rain. Being a person who spends a lot of time driving the dirt roads of the southwestern deserts of the US, I know a lot about the baking sun and heat. Out in these parts, rain and water can be a rare thing. On most of my excursions, all I see is dust, blue sky, and blinding light. So when us desert-dwelling lizards get to experience the occasional rain or thunderstorm, or perhaps cool water from a river or lake, those experiences stick with us. Our first memory begins in Boulder City, Nevada, a quaint town just south of Las Vegas and my favorite place to stay overnight. For a Phoenician like me, this is a strategic location to stay when transiting long distances to destinations beyond, or for the occasional excursion out into the Mojave. There's also much to do surrounding Boulder City, probably more than you think, and many ways to keep cool. If you've never heard of Boulder City, its biggest claim to fame is its tie to the historic Hoover Dam and Lake Mead, just a few miles down the road. There's lots of recreational opportunities in the cool waters of the lake or even the Colorado River. Yeah, this is the life. This is the life right here. It really is. A couple years back, I took a trip to the Mojave and learned that when it wants to, the desert knows how to keep things cool. On this particular trip, my entry point into the Mojave was actually within Arizona. Bet some of you didn't know that Arizona has its share of Joshua trees and Mojave Desert vibes. Endless views of tall succulents that are normally associated with Southern California. I thought saying hello to some of these Joshua trees was a proper way to kick off a trip into the Mojave. From there, it was time to seek out my quarters for the next couple nights, the Sands Motel in Boulder City. So I put on some road tripping music and headed out towards Nevada. As I neared my destination, the first clue that the desert would be revealing its watery secrets to me on this trip became apparent as I noticed clouds starting to gather. After checking into my favorite motel in the area, I was treated to my first spectacle of the trip, a thunderstorm. Perhaps the Mojave's first reminder that it is not always sun and dust here. This one was kinda weird. The sky was a mix of dark, ominous clouds, pockets of deep blue, and clouds that looked like they were on fire. You see, for a desert rat in training like me, these storms are a mix of excitement and coziness. Pieces of color. Whoa. The lightning is like right above me now. I could smell the rain in the air. The wind brought in welcome coolness from the parched day. While the storm put on a beautiful visual show, the rains never came. Another tease, like so many. But something in the air made me think the desert was not finished with me just yet. We'll catch that Mojave Desert Rain, or maybe it'll catch us. Just you wait and see. The Sands Motel started renting rooms here in Boulder City back in 1951. To me, the motel has kept much of its original appearance and still delivers on the classic vibes. I've stayed here more times than I can count. My room has always been clean and the nights have been very peaceful, every time I've stayed here. And it's one of the most affordable games in town. Seems popular with boaters of nearby Lake Mead also, and they even have room in the parking lot for a couple watercraft. I've seen the sun rise and set on that beautiful sign so many times I lost count. I had business to attend to on this particular trip out in the desert, and while the Mojave put on a fantastic show the first night, there are other times you just don't want it. Not far off from the sands are many entry points into the deep Mojave Desert, a land filled with many relics of the past, especially those of the mining industry. We love exploring this remote region and finding the remaining structures, many of which their stories are increasingly forgotten with time. As I scaled the land of Joshua trees, I felt a tingle in my neck. Something about the desert that day made me sure a storm would eventually appear. And every time I turn around, I swear, I see new clouds that weren't there. They gather fast. I predict we're gonna get some rain. As I traversed the landscape, sure enough, the fluffy clouds began to collect and combine until they turned a deeper gray and eventually rained down from the heavens. I had a job to finish, so I took a chance to film my last location of the day while the storms formed all around me. And over there, it wasn't raining when I was walking up to the mine, and all of a sudden it's dumping over there now. The sound of nearby thunder, the threat of downpour looming, I felt it wise to pick up and head home back to the safety of the sands. But we had a fairly long drive out, and I was sure we would not get off the hook this time, and being in a strong desert storm is not a place I like to be, not in remote country like this. But just like the first show put on at the Sands the night before, the bark ended up being much worse than the bite. I almost felt like the Mojave was toying with me. I especially felt that upon my return to the motel, when another storm was beginning to form, that this desert was just not giving up. These storms are unpredictable, and they form fast. They go from being like a big plump cloud to starting to form thunderheads like this, and they just keep reforming and gaining strength, and I can feel the wind starting to pick up. While I didn't mind that we didn't get hit hard coming out of the desert, I still felt a little gypped. Part of me wanted to be in a hard desert rain. Or maybe I just needed water, and I knew where some was. But to get to it was going to be an adventure of its own. Out in a different section of the Mojave are many more old mining roads, and one in particular named the Nelson Rollercoaster. We'll call it the back way into the very popular tourist trap Nelson Ghosttown. We drove hill after hill. Whoever gave this road its nickname nailed it, and even to this day, this drive ranks as our #1 favorite for dirt road fun factor. We eventually made our way back onto the safer paved roads and spent a little time touring about Nelson Ghosttown, a destination for the Las Vegas tourist industry. The town was established in 1861, and it was gold. It was a gold strike that did it, and this became one of the largest first gold strikes in Nevada history. But our real prize is just down the road from Nelson, a place where we can finally find that cool, cool water we seek, down by the green Colorado. At the mouth of El Dorado Canyon is a spot downstream of Hoover Dam It has the clearest, greenest water I think I've ever seen. It's a perfect place to keep cool in the hotter days of the year, and the views from around here were some of the best of the trip. Ah, now that was nice. There was no heavy rain, but probably even better. So with that done, I headed back up the road, but wouldn't you have it, something was percolating in the sky, again. As I drove back out towards Nelson and the Sands, clouds gathered. I think the desert might be up to something here. And it would turn out, the Mojave did indeed have one last surprise for me. A grand finale of sorts. A heavy desert rain, but seen from a distance. All of the excitement with none of the worry. Seeing the sky unload all of its contents from afar was humbling. The desert seemed to be giving me that show I wanted, and I was okay that I was not a direct participant. As the trip approached its end, I thought back on all the close calls and the beauty the Mojave put on display. And now, a couple years later, the memories that stick the most are those simple moments, the surprises, the rains, or almost rains. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to check out the long format version spanning several videos out in the Mojave. There are hours of content to binge, and you can spend much more time at these fantastic locations hanging out with me. If you haven't done so yet, please consider subscribing to the Cactus Atlas, as we have hundreds of videos documenting years of travel in the western US, and many, many more videos like this. I enjoyed having you reminisce with me today about desert rains and the beloved Mojave Desert. We'll see you on a new adventure down the road. Bye for now.